Good morning, one and all. Good morning, one and all. Let us start the session with a devotional song.
Precious Spirit, come. Holy Spirit, come. Come into me now to touch and heal. Precious Spirit, come. Holy Spirit, come. Come in now and set my life on fire. Oh, let my heart burn with love for my Lord. Let thy mighty power flow and set me free. Oh, let my heart burn with love for my Lord. Let thy mighty power flow and set me free. When times of trials come, temptations come my way, let me cling to thy precious love. Prepare me for that day, that great and glorious day, when my Lord comes back to take me home. Oh, let my heart burn with love for my Lord.
Before starting the presentation, I would like to give some instructions to the participants. Please mute your audio and switch off your videos throughout the session to avoid the inconvenience. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them in the chat box. We will respond to your queries after the presentation. Education doesn't mean getting the certificate. It means enhancing yourself with knowledge. With this spirit, I welcome you all for the third day of the international webinar on promoting quality research, skills, and innovations in higher education, organized by IQAC and Department of Mathematics and Zoology. I invite Ms. Dr. R. Purnima, lecturer in political science, to introduce today's resource person, Professor M.V. Srinivasan, working in NCRT, Department of Education in Social Sciences, New Delhi.
Thank you. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce our today's resource person, Dr. M.V. Srinivasan, who is going to give an invited talk on challenges in designing curriculum to promote skill development and innovation in the light of new education policy 2020. This is a subject in which we should all be deeply interested, and we have right person with us. Dr. M.V. Srinivasan is currently working as a professor in the Department of Education in Social Sciences, NCRT, New Delhi, since 2002. He had completed MPhil and PhD in Labor Economics from Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. He is a life member of Indian Society of Labor Economics, and he is the one of the member in editorial board in Journal of Indian Education NCRT. He is also a member of Academic Subcommittee, Delhi Tamil Education Association. He has presented many research papers in national and international seminars and published many articles in reputed journals. His area of specialization is curriculum development, social science education, program evaluation, educational assessment, and labor economics. Sir, we are very happy to have you with us today. Now I hand over the session to Sir.
Sir, please unmute, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Purnima Ravinathan, and the organizing committee members of this international webinar, and the college principal, and all my dear colleagues and participants. I would like to thank also that this is the first time I'm interacting with the colleagues far away from Delhi. And this is also an occasion where generally this type of conferences related to skill development is dealt with by the various other various other professionals. So in my experience working with NCERT over the period of 2 decades, I have been involved in developing curriculum in the area of school education and particularly formal education. So today I'm going to just rather making it as a presentation or webinar, I would like to have an interactive session. So what we are going to do today is that I'm going to pose some questions to you, and whatever your responses, I will be very happy if you are able to share in the chat box. This I will do it in the beginning of the session and in between the sessions also. So in order to make this webinar more interactive, kindly cooperate and try to respond either through by in person, by through unmuting yourself, or by responding in the chat box. So without your response or reflections, my presentation would be kind of monologue. So I would expect you to share your experience. You may be a student, you may be a faculty member in the college or in the university, or it may be you may be a school teacher, whoever you are. But please try to respond in the chat box so that let us make this webinar a highly interactive session. And I'll also, before I start my presentation, I have a question for you. I just want to know, like, what is curriculum? Can somebody share a few words in the chat box? What is meant by curriculum? What is curriculum? Can somebody write in the chat box? You can use your Google Meet chat box. You have to write, you have to respond in a few words. What is curriculum? Yes. Please use your mobile phone or computer and share some words in the chat box. What is curriculum? Biodata. Thank you, Venkata Pratap Reddy ji. Any other response? What is curriculum? Mr. Reddy responded that curriculum means it's a biodata. Any other response? There are about 40 participants in the webinar. Unless there is some reflections, it may not be very interactive. So kindly use the chat box, try to respond. What is curriculum? Anybody? Anybody within the college or students? I wanted your reply, then only I can move to the next slide. What is curriculum? Course of study, very good. Mary Vinaya Sheila, it's a course of study. Yeah, this is one interpretation, one understanding about curriculum. Course of study. Any other response? What is meant by curriculum? Since the number of participants is less than 100, about 30, 40, if you want to unmute and speak also, I would request the organizers, please help them to get unmute and speak out. What is curriculum? Yes, there's one understanding. It's also a biodata. The second meaning is a course of study. Any other explanation? What is curriculum? Very good, Purnima Ravinathan. Syllabus. Curriculum is also, generally we all think that curriculum means it is syllabus. So because this session is meant for understanding about the curriculum development for skill development, so it is better we need to understand the basic. Very good. The components to be taught. Hemalataji, thank you very much. Oh, this is a very highly relevant understanding about curriculum. Components to be taught. What we teach, the different type of like topics to be taught. It's similar to the teaching program. Very good. It's a teaching program. So curriculum, it is not simply a syllabus. It is not something the different topics to be taught. It's not something by data. It is a teaching program. Yes, this is a very good idea. So the curriculum is not simply a syllabus. It's a program, the entire program. For example, if you are saying that the BSc physics program, so it means the curriculum includes the whole program. Yeah, that's very good. We are moving to the closer understanding. If you look at the term curriculum, its own history, how this term originated, it was initially meant for a race course, a race. Curriculum means it's a race. If you look at today, the curriculums are now in the process of race. We are all in the race in the educational programs in different stages of school education and higher education. Yes, Dr. Aruna, curriculum means it is teaching learning skills. Yes, the curriculum also needs to incorporate, needs to have a discussion on the skills. It is not sufficient to mention only the program. It is not sufficient to decide what are the topics to be taught. It is also a list, the identification of skills. Curriculum also includes skills. What are the skills that we would like to incorporate? We would like the learners to learn, to acquire. What are the skills? Suppose if you want to go for a driving program, a driving school, if you go for driving, learning about driving, so learning to drive is a skill. So it is also, curriculum also includes skills. Any other interpretation? Okay, so we have got 3-4 meanings about curriculum. So the curriculum basically deals with traditionally deals with course of study. So look at my slide actually. If you look at my, can somebody say that is the slide visible?
The first slide, sir.
Okay.
The challenges in design, that slide is visible.
Yes. When I move the slide, if the slide is not moving, please let me know. Because since we are all from almost 2,000 kilometers away from each other, so it's possible that sometimes the power may go and it may come. I'll just get back in case of any power short. So Delhi, it's not necessary that the small towns only will have power cuts. Delhi also will have the, sometimes we get power cuts. Is the second slide visible?
Yes, sir. What is curriculum?
Yeah. So can somebody read what are the ideas mentioned in this slide?
Educational aims or larger goals.
Yeah.
Stage, subject, class, knowledge domain, specific aims. Syllabus, principles of content selection and organization, criteria to choose learning material, criteria for selection of teaching, learning methods, principle to formulate evaluation or assessment.
Thank you, Ms. Sheila. So this is the curriculum includes all these components. If somebody is saying that they have developed a curriculum for something, so curriculum is not including only the syllabus alone. Curriculum does not mean only the topics that are there. Curriculum does not mean the name of the program alone. It includes many things. For example, the first issue that we have to decide what are the broader aims. Suppose we teach in a JMJ college, and what is the aim of this college actually? What is the aim of this college that needs to be there? So we have to chart out what are the larger goals of the program. The secondly, the stage specific, subject specific. So when we talk about stage, it may be primary, it may be higher education, it may be a middle stage, it may be secondary stage. We also have to identify what are the stage specific objectives. Suppose I'm teaching for classes 9th and 10th. If there are adolescents, so what are the aims of education at that particular stage? Then the subject. There are many subjects in a curriculum. It may be science, it may be mathematics, it may be physics. So if it is science or if it is the physics, what is this physics related aims that needs to be listed out? And physics related, suppose you are teaching physics for class 9th and 10th, we have to see that in class 9th and 10th, what are the topics in physics, what are the aims we need to impart. For example, if you look at example of economics, where I had my degree. So if I am teaching for class 9th and 10th, what should be my aim? So 9th and 10th, we generally don't teach microeconomics, macroeconomics, and so on. So we teach only the broad economic topics like globalization, poverty, economic issues we teach actually. So if we want to teach, we don't want to teach the core theories actually. We talk about common issues. So like that actually we have to identify stage specific, subject specific aims. And then class. Within the stage also, for example, if it is a secondary stage, which in the new education policy 9, 10, 11, 12, for a particular class, what should be there? In class 9, what should be the learning like aims? Then the knowledge domains. So knowledge and subject more or less same, but why I put this word knowledge? Because the skill development also requires identification of knowledge. What knowledge we are going to impart? What are the aims of that subject area? The third component is syllabus. The curriculum also includes the selection of topics and the extent the coverage topics to be. For example, if it is a French Revolution, people have written lakhs and lakhs of pages. Or if you look at India's freedom struggle, you can see hundreds and thousands of pages and thousands of books were written on India's freedom struggle. Within that, what to teach actually, the identification of topics that comes under the syllabus. Then what are the principles of content selection and organization? For example, if I am teaching, if I am selecting a content, why I selected the content? For example, if you are talking about many freedom fighters, so which freedom fighter I have to include? Which particular event I have to include? Whether should I include Quit India movement? Should I include this movement, that movement? There may be many events that took place over the period of, say, about 200 years of our colonial rule in India. So if you want to choose a particular thing, why we have to choose? In what way it is very important. So the principles, the guidelines, the idea behind selection of content, and the idea behind how we can organize the content. That is also need to be decided in the curriculum. The curriculum includes those guidelines, those principles also. Then the criteria choose the learning material. For example, if the content is selected and the content is sometimes textbooks or books are written, and there are many books available on the same topic actually. So which book to choose? Which learning material to choose? If there are science experiments also, which experiment can be selected? Okay, which learning experiences we have to provide to the children. So the criteria, what criteria I have to choose? The criteria is based on the age, children, learners, maturity level, okay, and availability of facilities. For example, in the urban area, you may be having a computer and advanced technological facilities, whereas in rural area, such a technological facility may not be available. So we have to choose the learning materials depending on the context, depending on the maturity level. And then the other criteria is that the selection of teaching methods. What teaching method I can choose? For example, if you want to teach science, you need to have a lot of observations. Thank you, Buji Raghava. I'll come back to the explanation. So the idea that the teaching methods also, should I use the lectures? For example, if I want to talk about a particular personality, then I have to talk about the personality. But if I want to do a science theory, science formula, then I have to work on the experiment actually. Okay, the new education policy is also suggesting that experiential learning we have to provide to the children actually. So what criteria I can evolve for identifying the teaching method? And then finally, we have to choose examination. What kind of assessment? Should the assessment should be completely written test, or should it be a quiz program? Should it be a project work? Should it be like internal assessment? So why we have to follow such assessment practices? And sometimes it could be assessment as evaluation, it could be peer assessment, it could be a self-assessment. So what kind of assessment we have to follow and why we follow that assessment. So the curriculum includes all these 6-7 domains. So if your curriculum is formulated, so we have to make sure if somebody is saying that this is the curriculum for a particular course, please make sure that these 7 indicators are there, these 7 ideas there. Okay. Then let me go to next slide. See, the curriculum, in the formal education system is very, very new. Though India claims to be, India has can you see the second screen now?
So stakeholders of curriculum.
Yes, sir.
Yes, the stakeholders of curriculum. So if you look at the stakeholders of curriculum, who are the stakeholders there? Who are all the stakeholders in the curriculum? We are all the stakeholders. Okay, so that they may be the stakeholders are very stakeholders here represent for whom it is very important. Today, if you look at the education, is very, very.
Sir, your screen. Okay.
Is it visible?
Now it's visible, sir.
Okay. So the first is like stakeholder is that the students are the first stakeholder. They need to know whether it is relevant to me, is it relevant to my career. So students are the first. Whenever the children are getting admission to the any education institution, they wanted to make sure that whether learning, spending my time, my lifetime in this institution is worth. So whenever the curriculum is evolved, we have to make sure that whether this particular beneficiary, the student, the stakeholder, is benefiting from a particular curriculum. And then the parents and guardians. So the parents are very, very important segment, particularly today. That's because it's also because the education has become a very, very costly affair. Parents have to spend a lot of money from their packet. Okay, particularly context like India, where the parents have to pay a lot of money for as a fee for their education. Actually, it is not today also. Even during the colonial times, also parents have to spend a lot of money. So in many rich countries like America, Europe, you will find the government is spending a lot of money on education. But in India, in recent times, particularly in the last 30 years, the parents have to take out. They have to borrow. So when they spend a lot of money and then sweat themselves, and they want to make sure that whether spending this much of money, educating my children, is it worth? So they will also have to be, see, whenever we are introducing a curriculum, we have to make sure that we have to convince the parents that yes, our curriculum is worth spending. Our curriculum is spent not only for the social benefit, but also for the personal benefit. The third is that education institutions. Education institutions today, there are about 15 lakh schools, there are about 1,000 universities, 40,000 colleges in India. It's one of the biggest educational venture in the whole world, actually. So if this is the case, each institution has a stake, and there is also the market. The market has gone into inroads into education institutions, educational sector. So the education institutions has a stake, huge stake actually, in terms of, suppose we invest a lot of money, people like by setting up education institution, if the students are not getting enrolled, the education institution will have to suffer actually. The teachers who are recruited there, they will be suffering actually. So the education institutions has a major stakeholder. When somebody like the NCRT or any board or any university introduces a curriculum, so we have to make sure that whether the education institutions, including the university, make sense about the curriculum. Actually. So they are the other important stakeholder. And then education administrators. So generally, not only in India, all over the world, curriculum is regulated by the government through the education administrators. In the colonial times, it is the education administrators who decided whether the school should be open or not open. Okay, and today education administrators are also regulating curriculum. For example, University Grants Commission, all the examination boards, all the like AEOs, BEOs, Mandal education officers, all these education officers, they play a crucial role. So they are also need to understand. They need to understand what is a curriculum. So that's why they are also become stakeholders of the curriculum actually. And then the boards and certifying agencies, universities, In India, universities are awarding certificate, and your college being an autonomous college, you may be formulating your own courses, and your university is also an important stakeholder. Okay, so in that sense, actually, universities and the examination boards are the other important stakeholders in the curriculum, actually. And then material developers. When I say material, it is not only the textbooks, it is also all the learning materials, globes and scientific laboratory materials, guidebooks, all pencils, stationaries, and all the things that are used for learning, they become material. So the material developers are also they are also important stakeholders. Earlier, it is the education institution and the teachers, they used to create a lot of materials. They used to develop a lot of notes. They used to develop teaching aids. But today things have changed. Things are available because of the technology, because of the advancement in science and technology. You get a lot of materials by like a ready-made. So that is also becoming a curriculum. Curricular materials has become a big business, $1 trillion business in the world. For example, you may be knowing about Byju's and many institutions, many IT sector giants are entering into this education industry. So the material development is also an important, they are also important stakeholders of curriculum. Okay, and then okay. Can you see my screen?
No, sir.
Yes, I'm coming. I think this is. Is the screen visible now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can somebody read this? What is this screen showing?
Traditional model.
Yeah. So just list out it. What are the ideas available in the traditional model? Some student or somebody has to read actually, so that some amount of interactiveness is coming up. We are going to discuss about it. So can somebody read? Let me just what are the bulleted points are available in the screen?
Teachers select and decide what should be taught. Learning materials are available ready-made. Third, content-driven pedagogies. Content-driven goal formulation. Teachers decide the assessment plan, and content mastery is essential. Last one, okay. Learners are identified purposefully. And last, students play passive role in learning.
So how the curriculum is developed. Thank you, madam. How the curriculum is developed, not only in India, all over the world, and over the last, say, because the education is many centuries old business, so activity. So in this sector, how the curriculum is evolved. There are different models available for us to consider. Okay, and there are different models available. Whatever the subject that you are teaching, whatever the subject you are studying, whatever the course you are pursuing now, whatever the course for which you are leading the departments. So all these courses are part of these models. Different models are used actually. Let me see one by one. The traditional model is also kind of a conservative model. For example, if you put, I'll give you one example, like 2-3 examples. I'm just giving the clue here. The 7 attributes of a traditional model. You need to find out what topics or what curriculum comes under this framework, traditional model. Teachers select and decide what should be taught. It means whatever should be taught decided by the teachers, and the learning materials are available ready-made. This means you don't have to write anything; it's already there. So I'm giving you a clue. Now you tell me what kind of courses comes under this formula, this model actually. Learning materials are already available. There is nothing to be written, so it's already there. You have to use it actually. And then content-driven pedagogies. This means, see the content, whatever the content based on which the teachers decide how to teach the content. Okay, it is not the pedagogy that drives content, it is the content that drives pedagogy. Pedagogy, when I say, it is about the method of teaching. Okay, the art of teaching. And then content-driven goal formulation. The content is already there. So based on the content, you are deciding what to teach and why to teach. You are listing out why to teach. And teachers decide the assessment plan. Teachers decide, not the board or university or any formal institutions. It is the teachers decide assessment plan. And the norm reference test means either pass or not pass. And you have to mastery over the content. That's the kind of system prevailed in the education institutions. Learners are identified purposively. Not all the people are able to, all students or all young people cannot come to study in those institutions. Only those who are selectively selected or identified, they only can come to study. And then students play a passive role in learning. In curriculum decision, students have no role to play. So this is the model. Now you tell me, what could be kind of education institution this model is implemented? Can you just try to understand, like send somebody reflect on this model? What are the models? What are the courses may come under this category? Traditional model. Can somebody reflect by the through the chat box what model it could be? I'm just opening the chat box. What model the traditional curricular model would be? Can somebody reflect? Which course may be coming under this kind of model? Suppose you are formulating a course. So this criteria can be used. In this criteria, there is no need to create any new material. Materials are already there. And then teachers are the ones who are deciding. And then only select people will be identified. Any reflection? Digiboard. No, we don't have to go to that level. What kind of curriculum it can? Thank you, Venkatapatra Reddy. You are attempting now. Teacher oriented. Now, what kind of course could have been? What kind of education institution this system may be following? Is your college is following this system? Yes or no? Many of the participants must be from JMJ college. Is this traditional model is followed in your college?
So yes, we are following traditional model in mathematics, English, and history like subjects.
Okay, thank you for the reflection. I may not agree completely, but okay, you decide. Like you just you think about it actually. This traditional model is basically, in my understanding, the Gurukulams of the past. And the materials already written means it is the religious scriptures. For example, the madrasas or the institutions which are preparing the priests in the in Christianity. So all the religious education institutions. If you use this criteria, look at the criteria again. In madrasas or in say monasteries or in gurukuls, all are allowed to study? No, only select people were allowed, encouraged, invited to study. Then the learning materials, for example, the Bible, Quran, all the Hindu scripts or the Buddhist writings, they were all written. There is no change. The materials are already there. So you have to just use those materials. That's the second criteria. So the learning materials are already there. You don't have to create any learning material. And what is the role of the student there? He has to recite. He has to learn. He has to understand. He has to have a mastery over the learning material. Okay. So if you look at the traditional model did not allow the students to have any reflection. Traditional model did not allow learning materials to be written new. Whatever the scriptures written in the past, that is final. There is nothing to reinvent anything. So that was the way traditional curriculums were developed actually. If you look at, and this model even today is also used. For example, in Maharashtra, the topic of Shivaji, it is started to, schools start teaching from class 4, 3 onwards. You cannot change anything about Shivaji. Whatever is about Shivaji, you have to teach. For example, in Tamil Nadu, if you about Tiruvalluvar, all the Tirukkurals, you have to teach Tirukkural. You cannot change anything. It is given and you have to teach. Okay. Similarly, in many education institutions, certain courses, there is no scope for change. You have to teach, it is given. For example, in most education institutions, if particularly, for example, in Hindi belt, I would say that Ramayana and Mahabharata, they were all supplementary readers for the language courses. They are a must for any student who study Hindi. If a student is studying Hindi as a language, he cannot escape Ramayana, Mahabharata. Okay, so this kind of the ideas which are very, very deeply rooted in the culture, history, religion, when they become part of the curriculum and they are not changeable, you cannot do anything about Ramayana. You cannot write a new Ramayana and introduce in the textbook. It's already there, you have to use it. Okay, this is called traditional curricular model. Let me go to the, and you know what are the limitations with this model actually. Okay, and the second model is that the behaviorist model and reconceptualist model. Can somebody read this model? Hello, is the screen moved to the next one?
Yes, sir. Behaviorist and reconceptual model.
Please go ahead, sir.
Anyone can improve himself or herself behavior or one's environment. Socio-economic and intellectual advancement is possible through education. Planning the desired change in behavior, educational objectives and strategies are essential. Learning materials are developed and supplied by central agency based on scientific approach. Teachers are also provided guidelines and trained on methods that can be used to teach in class. Assessment based on learning objectives or outcomes, criteria referenced tests.
Yeah, thank you, madam. So if you look at the traditional model did not provide opportunity for all the people to learn. If you look at our own examinations, many of you who may be in 50s or who may be in 40s, you may be aware that when you were writing university examinations, there were about 4 or 5 essay questions. Okay, and if you are lucky enough, studied all the topics thoroughly, and if you are able to write 3 essays, you are pass. Otherwise, you are not. Okay, whereas today, you are a student or you are maybe a teacher, you may be knowing that now you cannot follow that kind of question papers. You have to follow the blueprint, you have to follow the assessment framework, you have to ask questions with a specific number of questions, you have to inform everything in advance, a sample question paper. So you have to have a multiple choice questions, you have to have a specific number of short answer question, long answer question, essay type questions. So now the assessment has been completely systematized by the Bloom's taxonomy. Okay, so this is coming under the behaviorist and reconstructionist model. Earlier, people used to think that only the kings and the elite families and the children from the elite families, children from the rulers and their own families can go to education. Earlier, it was the case that the people from specific caste groups only are eligible to go to schools, are invited to come to schools. If you look at even the colonial period, we all know that who went to those British schools established by the British people, who benefited maximum from the colonial education system. Okay, so the education was constrained to a select few groups. It may be a social group, it may be a political group. Okay, it was not available to all. It was assumed that they were the rulers, so only the rulers should know. Do you know that Akbar cannot read and write? So what happened was that only the specific select people were able to study, and they were the ones who can make the changes. Since they were the rulers, only they were given education actually. This framework was broken and by the evidences, and people in like just not many years, even just 100 years before only, people have started saying that no, everybody can learn. People can change their behavior. The psychology, the discipline of psychology came into being. They said that the behaviors can be changed. Okay, and you can improve by education. Education was a very, what do you call, it's an elite business. It was not meant for occupational purposes. It was meant for ruling purposes in the traditional model. Whereas in the behaviorist model, in the reconstructivist model, it has become a scientific enterprise. Okay, this country can improve through education. So this was the second set of curricular model which was promoted actually. And you can plan what to teach. You can decide what are the objectives. Okay, you can decide what are the desired expectations. Okay, so the learning outcomes, learning objectives, education objectives, aims, you can plan everything. If you plan everything, give education to people, then it is possible to improve the society, improve the country. Okay, this kind of understanding came in the second model, second curricular model. And then it is not that the teachers are the one who decide everything. Teachers also can be provided guidelines. They can be trained. Teaching in the past was meant only for a specific social groups in India. Okay, and the behaviorist group, behaviorist and the reconstructivist, they argued that no, anybody can become teacher provided they are given proper professional training, professionally developed. Okay, for many decades we did not have a sufficient number of teachers because it was assumed that teaching can be an occupation for a specific social groups only. So it was broken under the behaviorist framework. Anybody can become teacher, and assessment need not be randomly posed questions, essay questions. It should be based on the learning objectives. Okay, it should be based on what are the learning outcomes. Okay, and then it should be based on learning outcomes means if the students earlier, if you study, if you're able to master this particular set of issues, then you are passed, so that you are given a certificate or you are rewarded. You are declared that you have developed a mastery. Whereas in the behaviorist terms, they said that it is not necessary that they have to learn everything. Okay, there are learning objectives, and if you are able to achieve those objectives, that is sufficient. We don't have to worry about, see, the earlier method, the ranking, the hierarchy played very role. Okay, only those who are in the first class. For example, during the colonial period, only those matriculates with the first class were given jobs in the initial period. Say, I'm talking about 150 years before. Okay, but today, the later, this idea was broken. The mark should not be the basis. It can be gradation. Okay, a group of people also can have. For example, there is no big difference between the 95 and the 75. There is no big difference between the 75 and 65. Okay, this kind of understanding came into being, and the grading system came into being, and the criteria, that is called criteria reference to testing. Okay, so the entire the material can be written. Earlier, I was telling you that Ramayana, Mahabharata, details about Shivaji, details about Tirukkural, all the literature, the religious scripts, they are final. Nobody can change. They are the ones which are used as a material for learning. Whereas the behaviorist group, the reconstructivist group, they said that no, material can be written. For example, NCERT is developing textbooks, and you have a lot of textbooks also. Syllabus can be formulated. So the syllabus can be formulated on the basis of the age, on the basis of the grade. Okay, so the learning materials are developed, and it can be tested also. Children, like in the beginning of this school came into curriculum model came, people developed materials. They tried out in the among the children. Even today we do this actually. Whenever we write some material, develop some things, we go experiment, try out, and finalize it, and then make it available to the market. Okay, so the way learning materials developed also completely changed in the this particular framework. So this framework, when someone of you said about the mathematics and many things in our college is based on the traditional model. So can we say that now you tell me, in your college, the courses that are available to you, is it based on the traditional model or behaviorist reconceptualized model? Can somebody reflect on this second model? What is the difference between the first model and second model? And then is it something like whatever happening in your college, whether it is a Bachelor of Commerce or Bachelor of Science or Bachelor of BA English, behaviorist model only? Yes. So why it is not traditional model? Earlier somebody said it is a traditional model. So now we are saying that it is the behaviorist model. Why? Please go ahead, Hemlata ji.
Here, our syllabus is framed by the external agency, and we as a Board of Studies members are changing to some extent.
Very good.
And we are trained like
Yes.
a B.Ed or a MET
Yes.
by some other agency. So here we are modifying the content according to the intellectual abilities and societal needs of the present day situations.
Yes.
So the learning materials are already framed by somebody. We are provided guidelines by APSHA or some other agency. The assessment is also planned, like how many tests to be conducted in what mode, whether offline or online, etc. So definitely what we are following comes under behavioristic model.
So this is the, so if you look at today, the curricular models available for all over the world it's a behaviorist model. Broadly comes under the behaviorist model. Even though as a college you may be following certain broad areas given identified by the university. University also is not something given by somebody else. It's not something given by the Europe or America. University also formulates syllabus based on their own board of studies. Where also the experts come, they sat, they discuss, they finalize the courses actually. So whatever the courses formulated by the university also, it is the college people like you all, you go to college, you go to universities, or many university teachers, they come together from different parts of India, different parts of state. You formulate. So the idea here is that the collectively people are working on it. It is not something given from the top. It's not something given from the wind actually. Okay. So the behaviorist framework is the second one. But what is happening is that this also has problematic. I can just recall that just now you said, Hemalata ji, that things were given by somebody else. For example, I am sitting in Delhi, working in NCRT, sending a textbook for use in your area. Okay, school teaching physics, chemistry, the textbook is given from Delhi actually. Okay, so this model is also very problematic for the curriculum developers and thinkers. So the curriculum framework, whatever the curriculum that is developed, they are all coming under the lens of these scholars, the social scientists, philosophers. They will not allow easily that whether things are going in this country or in this world are fine. So they will always look at critically what's going on is right or wrong actually. That is why you will find regularly curriculums are revised, modified, depending on the need, depending on the situation, depending on the context, depending on the political formulation. Okay, it's a dynamic activity. So the curriculum development in our country, or not only our country, for other countries also, it's broadly dynamic. It's not static actually. It changes. For example, I'm sure your college, being an autonomous college, every 5 years you may be changing the syllabus. You may be changing the courses. You may be introducing new courses. You may be doing with the existing courses. Okay, so it's a dynamic activity. Okay, so if this is the dynamic activity, what is to be taught, the curriculum, the guidelines, they also undergo changes actually. That is why the traditional school and the behaviorist school also criticized. People say that you are not identifying on the basis of what the learner needs actually. So that is why people started thinking about alternative model. Then came and this, I also wanted to know how this happened actually. In the TOBA model, the curriculum framework, is presently developed on the basis of the TOBA model. So what are the steps they follow? They diagnose the needs of the learners, needs of the society. Okay, now we are talking about skill development. We are talking about skilled India. That's because this society wants people to be skilled. When compared with America, when compared with Australia, when compared with Germany or UK, where more than 50% of the learners, when they leave out of schools and colleges, they go with learning certain skills. Okay, whereas in India, you will find hardly 5% of the people who are claiming themselves as skilled. If this is a situation, the society wants that people, the country wants, the government wants that people need to be skilled. So the diagnosing of needs, and then based on the needs, the objectives are formulated. Okay, and these are the 7 steps generally followed in the formulation of curriculum under the reconstructivist or behaviorist framework. The first step is diagnosing the needs. The second step is that they formulate objectives. Why we have to teach, learning objectives, and the selection of content. Okay, if we want to achieve these learning objectives, what are the content, what are the topics that can be identified. So after selection identification, then it has to be put into some kind of framework. It could be textbook in case of lower classes, it may be textbooks in case of higher classes, it could be modules, it could be selection of articles. In many top universities in the postgraduate levels, there were no textbooks available. There are no textbooks. It is the course of series of papers, a series of papers written by scholars. They were pulled together and then offered as part of the course. I'm sure your college also, for particularly PG courses, postgraduate level courses, they must be having this kind of selection of articles. Then the selection of learning experiences. That is also need to be identified. The preparation of lesson plans. They are some example of the selection of learning experiences. Many models are getting evolved actually. And organization of learning experiences. How to conduct classroom experiences, outside the classroom experiences, laboratory experiences, working with the industry and vocational courses. A lot of vocational courses are now wanting children to go out of the institutions. Okay, so that is also part of the learning experiences. And then finally, assessment. So these are the 7 steps generally followed in the reconceptualized or behaviorist model of curriculum formulation. Then go to the third and final model. Can somebody read this third model? Hello.
Knowledge is hypothetical, tentative, and indicative, and get transformed in the process of learning. Teacher facilitates learners to construct their own knowledge. Learner-centered pedagogies. Syllabus is broadly specified, work as a starting point for experiment by teachers and students based on the context. Learners and teachers negotiate to decide what to learn, and how to be assessed. Democratic and participatory nature of professional development activities.
Thank you, madam. If you look at the way the progressive patent rights something means you invent something or you innovate something, then you are having the royalty, the rights to produce the same commodity, same technology. Suppose this is a mobile phone. So if I'm using my knowledge, if I'm creating a new model, and then I can go for a patenting the model. Actually. Okay, the patenting comes in many ways. Okay, so this is a part of construction of knowledge. Suppose you are able to construct develop a new mobile phone with a new model. For example, there is no electricity required. Suppose somebody invents a new mobile phone for which you don't have to require a charger. You just to show it to the sunlight, solar sunlight, and then that is sufficient. No need for charger. If somebody comes out with a new mobile phone like that, actually, so that is called a new invention. Okay, so if somebody comes out with some kind of that kind of mobile phone, and then he can go for a patenting his invention actually. So if you look at globally, America, Europe, or for that matter China, huge amount of patenting happens in those countries, whereas India is nowhere near. Slowly it is emerging, but if you look at number of people who are innovating something, it's very, very less. Why? Because we are not able to learn how to invent. We are not able to learn how to create a new knowledge. So the traditional curricular model or behaviorist model is not helping me to create a new knowledge. Okay, So the curricular models are now questioning that you are allowing me, you are forcing me to memorize it and then write in the examination and then forget it actually. You are not allowing me to modify the knowledge. You are not allowing me to invent something based on what is already existing. That is why this progressed and constructivist model came into being. If you look at many countries, the educational curricular model followed today is based on the progressivist model and constructivist model, actually, particularly the developed countries. So children are allowed to construct a new knowledge. Okay, they are not forced to recite. They are not forced to memorize, actually. That is because they think that knowledge is not something finite. It is socially constructed. Let me give you another simple example. You all know that, particularly those who studied in the school 30 years before, the 1857 freedom struggle, what is it called? What was the name of the 1857 freedom struggle? How do you call it actually? What was the name? You can tell in Telugu also.
Sipai Mutiny.
Yes, you are correct. So in 1857, we said that it was Sipai Mutiny. But today in 2020, we say that it was the first India's freedom struggle. It was not merely mutiny. Okay, so our understanding about knowledge also changes. That may be changing because new evidences are available. For example, before the 1930s, or even for that matter, say 1920s, we all know that Thomas Macaulay said that the Indian subcontinent, which includes India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Burma, so on, they did not have anything of their own literature. Macaulay said that all their writings can be kept on one shelf only. Whereas suddenly in 1930s, you come to know you have a civilization, Indus Valley civilization, Harappan civilization. People come, they explore, they come out with the new ideas that people here wrote literature. For example, in Tamil Nadu, in South India, Sangam literature came into being. People said that the writings were existing, all the big literature like Silapadigaram or Tirukural or many literature, they were all found just 100 years before, not even 100 years before. And suddenly new evidences are emerging in the society. When the new evidences are emerging, when the old evidences are interpreted very differently, and the new knowledge occurs. So the knowledge is not something very final. It is also getting changed. It is invented. New knowledge is also getting invented. For example, people traditionally believed that only the rulers are having the brains to study. Generally, even today also, you see that teachers say that these children from slum area, no, they cannot study. They are not having brains actually. So this kind of traditional mindset was there. But the progressives said, no. If you provide them opportunity, if you provide them the learning experiences, they are also having an opportunity to learn, progress actually. So the constructivist model said that they can also create new knowledge. So this idea came to being, this understanding about how the brain works, who can study, who can be an intelligent person, who cannot be an intelligent person. People earlier said that people from certain social sections, they are not having the brains to study. But now the cognitive science says that anybody can study. You provide them the learning experiences. You provide them the opportunity. Okay, this kind of new understanding about learning, new understanding about the society, new understanding about the inventions, innovations, they are all possible because the learners are provided opportunity to learn. They are provided opportunities to create new knowledge actually. So the knowledge, that is why the science came. If you look at the way scientists never said that this is the way it happens. They say, it seems, in my observation, it looks like, they say tentatively. Okay, so the entire idea of science, social science, natural science, these are all came into being because of the progressivism in curriculum actually. So the knowledge is very tentative. It is socially constructed. For example, my son, when I asked him from where the milk comes, he says that it comes from mother dairy. Okay, and if your son asked this question. One of you can say from where the milk comes. Please open up. Please just unmute and speak. From where? Yeah, please go ahead.
Cow.
So if you ask the child from the rural area or somebody who knows about the who lives in the farming families, they know from where the milk comes actually. Whereas our children innocently they said that it comes from the mother dairy. It may be coming from the shop actually. Okay, so many things are available. For example, people used to say that my father gets money from the ATM. Okay, so this kind of very false understanding about the origin is possible because it is socially constructed. Whatever the social environment in which we are living, the knowledge is constructed socially. Okay, it tends to change. It is very tentative. And also, earlier it was the teacher. If you look at the curricular models, the behaviorist model thought that teacher can be trained, he can be awarded, he can be professionally equipped, and he will teach. And he is the one who has the final authority on everything. So teacher had a complete absolute authority, but teachers are not somebody from wind. They can be trained. So the understanding changed from the natural inherited to developed model, whereas that was not sufficient. Today, the learning becomes learner-centered. Okay, and a teacher needs to understand the prior knowledge of the students. Okay, teacher needs to facilitate the students to construct the knowledge. So this syllabus is also not something very final. You may be wondering in your college or in your university why your teacher is not following the textbook as it is. Why your teacher is dictating notes. Why your teacher is providing variety of resources rather than telling that, okay, this is the textbook, you read and prepare for your examination. That is because he uses the progressivist ideology. He uses the constructivist model of curriculum. Okay, he organizes learning experiences which can help students to construct on. For example, you may be knowing that in textbooks, what happened? A particular author is writing, or a particular publisher. For example, if NCERT is developing textbooks, it is a government organization, and whatever the views of the government, they may be reflecting in that. If a private publisher textbook is there, it will also reflect the private publisher's interest actually. So the interest of the publisher, okay, interest of the author, what the author believes, that will be there in the textbook. That is why some teachers saying that we should not be bound by one particular ideology. Rather, we will provide children variety of opportunities and let them construct their own idea. So in this way, the constructivist framework also is also democratic. Both students and learners, they participate in the learning process. Okay, and that is why the recent the curricular models, if you look at all over the world in many countries, many schools, this idea is promoted. Okay, and if you look at the textbooks also, you will find many changes in the curriculum formulation. Okay, so let me move on to now. I wanted your reflection on three models that we have discussed. Three models of curriculum: traditional model, and the behaviorist and conceptualist model, and then progressive and constructivist model. I wanted your Hemlataji said there's so much of noise, but somebody open, can somebody? Yes. So now I wanted your reflection on these three curricular models. What do you think about these three curricular models? How do you see the curriculum formulated in your college? What models are formulated for which topic, which course? Can somebody reflect on?
Excuse me, sir, your presentation is not
coming.
Presentation,
don't worry. Now we have to speak. We have to speak or use the chat box. I'll come to the presentation. I deliberately avoided presentation. I'll come back to the slide. Now I wanted your reflection. It's been now almost 45 minutes. Only I'm. So now we have discussed about what is curriculum, and then how the curriculum is, what are the different models of curriculum. The traditional model and the reconceptualized or behaviorist model and the progressive and the constructive model. Okay, so now that many of you may be teaching as a teacher or some of you may be a student. So you tell us that which model is formulated for your course, for your studies actually.
Sir, mine is
Yes.
an autonomous college.
Okay. Explain, like reflect on the three models available, curriculum models. How do you understand these models?
Sorry for the network issue.
Yeah. Please go ahead.
As being an autonomous college, we move on for this constructive aspect, having a blend of the conceptual as well as the practical skill base where the students are able to get.
Okay.
We take our parental body, that is our university, as a base, but we have 30% freedom to modify our curriculum so that we are able to give the present updated information to our students to make them industry ready.
Okay. Thank you. Any other reflection? I wanted more reflection because many of you may be teaching, or maybe students also can reflect on what is the model that has been followed in your institution. What is your
Sir,
yes?
sir, I think it is a blend of behavioristic and progressive models.
We can say that actually. On what basis we can say that?
Previously, as I explained, some sort of curriculum is designed by a scientific body.
Yes.
So it is a behavioristic model. Whatever they feel it is convenient and needed for the students based on their needs, it is framed. And it's a progressive model because we, along with the student representative and industry members, board of studies, are trying to make certain changes according to the needs of the students, how to learn and what to be the assessment models, etc. So I feel that it's a blend of two models.
Okay, thank you, Hemalataji. Yeah, any student who is participating in this conference, like in this webinar, how do you reflect on these models? You can unmute to speak, or you can use the chat box to reflect. Any student, you may be in whatever the course that you are studying. What do you understand so far? I'm presenting about various curricular models, so that we can move on to the next step of skill development and innovation. To what extent you as a student are involved, or your fellow students are involved in formulating curriculum, formulating syllabus, formulating examination system, or participating in the assessment. Sujata Khambambatti, yes, it is informative session, but I wanted your reflection on the three models that are being discussed so far. Can some students come out with what do you think about these models, three models? I'm very happy that many teaching colleagues are able to understand. How do you, as a student, record your observations or reflections on these three models? The traditional model and the behaviorist, reconstructivist model, and progressivist and constructivist model. Any reflections? Does that mean that my explanation is not intelligible? Okay, yeah. So we'll come back again. I wanted some students, one or two students, come out with your understanding about what is this curriculum, what the presentation that I said I made so far, and which model is followed in your institution, in your classroom. Uh, uh, to what extent the learners and teachers are formulating the knowledge, or to what extent the students are coming out with the generating your own knowledge. Okay, let me go to the slide again. Is the slide visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the progressivist, sometime back, Jerome Bruner. The Bruner is one of the major educationists from US. Came out with the idea of one book called The Process of Education. I would strongly recommend that every teacher has to read this book. Small 75-page book, The Process of Education. When you get time, you can download. The soft copies are available in the Google Baba. And the curriculum formulation under the constructivist model or progressive model, these are the steps they followed actually. What are the steps? Can somebody read these steps? You have to read. I just thought some students or somebody to read this 7 steps.
Invite,
Initiate,
initiate and develop a process of question posing. Teach a research methodology where students look for information to answer questions they have raised. Use the framework developed in the course and apply to new areas. Help to develop the ability to use variety of first-hand sources as evidence, develop hypotheses and draw conclusions. Conduct discussions in which learners learn to listen to others as well as express their own views. Legitimize research, that is, to give sanction and support to open-ended discussions where definitive answers to many questions are not found. Encourage learners to reflect on their own experience. Create a new role for the teacher to become a resource rather than authority.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So now we have to reflect on how the curriculum is formulated from in the constructivist and contemporary model available, which I told you about, named as progressive or constructivist model. If you go to Google, you will find different names, but the idea is same, where the learners play a very important role, where the learners construct their own knowledge. So the idea, the steps here is that the first step is the initiate, develop a process of question posing. For example, you may be doing it many times in your classroom. You begin your entire curricular activity as a question posing. You pose certain questions, but you don't answer yourself. Students are expected to look for answers. The question posed by the students and the answers are also created by, formulated by, or identified by the students. Whereas, how to find out the answer, your teacher may be guiding how to find out answer. She may be guiding with by giving you materials, or she may be asking you to go to internet, or she may be facilitating you to discuss with amongst other students. Okay, so this is the second step they do. The third step is that how to develop the ability to use variety of first-hand resources. I still remember when I went to third year BA, one teacher used to bring newspaper. Bittu, first and because it's a common room where about 6-7 cubicle rooms are there. I'm presenting from here. So the idea that the how to develop the ability to use variety of first-hand resources. So she used to bring, whenever the survey is presented in the budget economic survey book, she will bring, and she will start discussing about economic survey details. Whenever the budget is presented, then budget newspapers she used to bring. So many times the newspapers, the news in the newspaper become first-hand sources for discussing the topic related to the subject. And many times, for example, in lower classes, many history teachers, they bring variety of coins to show about how the finance system emerged. Coins and rupee notes. Okay, so the idea that the using the first-hand resources, evidences, and then come to some kind of conclusion, draw a conclusion or developing hypothesis. That is the third step they do. Constructivist teachers, they do engage in all these activities and conduct discussions. It's not that one-way traffic that I speak, I discuss, I make everything. So that is not the way constructivists to do it. They conduct discussions where learners talk to each other, and they also listen to other ideas, and they also express their own views. Actually, it happens in many debates in the classrooms. I noticed in many classrooms. And then the open-ended discussion. Teachers generally don't stop that this is the final answer, there is nothing called. Okay. And many times I noticed, very surprisingly, I also asked one teacher, some chemistry teacher. A student asked a question and teacher said, I really don't know, but give me 2-3 days time, I'll get back to you. Sometimes I also noticed some teachers said that I don't know what is the solution available for this issue, but maybe solutions may come out sometime later. Okay, so this kind of humbleness happens in the constructivist classrooms and constructivist curriculum. In constructivist curriculum, see, not all solutions are available for a particular issue, for a particular problem actually. So that is the kind of curriculum that's been generally now suggested actually. And reflect on your own experiences, because your own experience help to construct. Whatever we say, it's not going to go in your mind. Your own experiences will modify whatever is coming as input to your brain, and then you will reflect on it actually. That is how the constructivists think the way brain works, the way curriculum is envisaged actually. Here the role for the teacher is that he will guide or she will guide. She will not be an authority of knowledge. She will say that I really don't know. Let us learn, or let us see, let us explore, and then find out the answer, or find out what's happening there. In many science laboratories, particularly the science teachers do this, that they say that I may not know it, but let us see how it comes out. So this is how the curriculum is formulated by the constructivist school of thought. Now you need to reflect to what extent your curriculum is constructivist, to what extent curriculum is progressivist, to what extent your classroom talk, how much space, how much percentage of the voices are teachers' voices, how much percent of the voices are student voices. We also have to see now the seminar organizers, the webinar organizers also said that in the context of new education policy, national education policy, what are the expectations? So let me just flip through some slides where I talk about national education policy, and it is what are the things that it dreams. Please make note that you must have had a similar webinar on new education policy, national education policy in the past in your college. I noticed in your website. So I'm not repeating many things, but those which are necessary for the skill development issues. See, the new education, national education policy is expecting that children need to have, the education system need to promote real understanding rather than rote memorization. The education system needs to help children learn not as they are, children need to learn how to learn. Okay, so the children, it's not necessary that you, if it is a book, you just memorize the book or memorize the question answers in the guidebook and then write it. Now they have to learn how to learn process. And you must have, you yourself experienced in the last 2 years during Corona, during COVID regime, many of you teachers have learned how to work with Google Meet, how to work with Microsoft Teams, how to work with Zoom and many platforms. And whatever you have not learned in the last 2 decades, you have learned in 2 years. And you must have, as a student, as a teacher, you must have experienced that, oh, my son, my daughter knows much more than me with regard to technology. And you were really, many of you must be having humbleness to go and ask them, okay, tell me how I can work on this Zoom. How I can make photographs on the Zoom. Okay, Zoom platform. So this learning how to learn, it becomes a major agenda for the national education policy. So the skill development means it is not merely learning to drive alone. We also have to learn how to repair if there is an issue with the vehicle. Okay, that's the, we have to move beyond driving skill alone. And the cognitive development. We also have to see all the 3 domains of cognitive domain, affective, psychomotor, and cognitive. All the 3 domains of cognitive areas we have to work on it. And building character. So the character building has become very crucial aspect. You all know, I don't have to explain this. And the equipping the learners with the 21st century skills. I'm not going to detail about it, but these are the expectations. Creating a holistic individuals. See, use knowledge, a deep-seated treasure to make humans a perfect one. For me, this understanding about knowledge is very, for me personally speaking, I have a problem with this understanding. The knowledge is not something a treasure. Knowledge is not a, do you think that the knowledge should be treated as a treasure? You have to reflect on it actually. What do you think about knowledge? How do you understand knowledge? In 21st century, we are in 2022 now. Okay. So we have to see about the role of knowledge, whether it is a subject knowledge or the domain, whatever the domain that you are learning. So how you understand the knowledge? That also we have to deeply reflect on it. Then the National Education Policy 2020 also says that we also have to reflect on it. Do you think it is true? Can somebody read these 3 ideas? These are very, very crucial because it's going to shape the way our colleges, our education institutions are going to function in the next 30-40 years. Why we need a skilled workforce? Can somebody read these 3 bullets?
Scientific
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Scientific and technological advances will lead to machines taking over most unskilled jobs. Requirement of workforce possessing skills in mathematics, computer science, and data science, and multidisciplinary ability sciences, social sciences, and humanities. Solutions for climate change, increasing pollution, depleting natural resources, emergence of epidemics.
Thank you, madam. So the idea that we know that what has happened when the computers came. When the computers came, the amount of many jobs vanished from India. Okay, the typing institutions, they were out of the screen. And when the mobile came, many things changed. The photo studios, they are not there anymore now. Big industries, big phenomena, like for example, Canon, which employed 1.5 lakh people, they have to close down their shutters. Okay, and all over the world, the scientific technological advances, the scanner, even the scanners, it came just about 10 years before, and today it becomes outdated because your mobile phone has got the scanner app. You don't require a separate scanner. So every day, as Peter said, that there is a creative destruction happening in the society. Okay, more and more technical advances are going to take place, and they are taking away most unskilled jobs. If you were a student, studied 4 years before, you must have studied your Andhra Pradesh, Telangana or social science textbooks, where one case example was given about the harvester come thresher. When I went to a small village in Tamil Nadu for a survey, on a morning I just went there, and it was a rural area. I was asked to collect data. So I went for it, taking bath in a well actually. So there suddenly I noticed some morning around 7:30, and some 40-50 ladies were standing near the farm with very amazing. Their eyes were really shocked. Why? Because it's a big thresher cum harvester came for harvesting paddy actually. A paddy harvester you must have seen in rural area, in your area also. If you look at the harvester in 5 acre of land, within 2 hours, it harvests complete paddy, whereas it used to take 15 days for 10 agricultural laborers to harvest paddy. We all know, many of you must be knowing about it, what happens in the harvesting of paddy, what are the different stages happens. Whereas all this were done as by single machine and a driver. So the most of the agricultural jobs are going out of the human's hand actually. So this kind of, so the machines are taking over most jobs. I may be having very difficult issue with the treating them as unskilled job. They cannot be considered as unskilled. A threshing activity or harvesting activity, bending your back and cutting down paddy is not a so-called unskilled job, but the society thinks as unskilled job. So the machines are taking over. So you students and you teachers, you must be thinking that in the coming decades, many and many machines, for example, in construction industry, lots of machines are coming into being. So in many sectors, the machines are coming for seeding activity, many farm activities, many activities in hospitals and roads. In many sectors, the machines are coming. So there was no control, there was no regulation. So they are going to take away many of the unskilled jobs. So our young children who are studying in colleges, and how are they going to cope up with this? What kind of jobs they will be taking up? What kind of skills they have to learn? Which skill? For example, I remember in 1995, the mobile industry, the mobile phone came, and all the STD booths jobs were gone. Today there is no STD booth in most parts of India. So many times you learn about computers. By the time you complete your degree, and that particular software become outdated. So we have to think about how to equip learners, how to learn whatever the new technologies that are coming. Actually, that is where the learning how to learn matters. So whatever the curriculum that we are going to design need to enable that children learn not the technology of how to work with, but not how to learn when new things comes. Actually, I used to advise whenever I am invited to a school, that I tell them that first teach all the children the typing. The typing tutors are available in the computers, learning them to type a simple typing skills. That will save a lot of our time. It's a most important skill one has to acquire. Though if you are becoming a job, if you're getting a job, you may be learning in 1 month's time. But if you equip them in the school time itself, when they are in colleges, it's a simple typing skill. I would say it is essential for today's young people. Learning to write, for example, these days the multiple choice questions are coming in the assessment pattern. This means the entire idea of writing by hand is also going to go away. Okay. So we also have to see that the process of writing, how it is going to be trained. So the new education policy is expecting that we do not know what kind of skills will be required in future. So the only way is that help them that the interest in learning to learn, whatever the technology that is coming. That is why it is recommended that the multidisciplinary institutions need to emerge. I want already your college has a lot of very good courses are there. I envisage, I dream that your college become a multidisciplinary university in the very near future with more than 3,000 to 5,000 students and studying all these multidisciplinary subjects. And the third reason why skilled workforce is also coming, along with the technology, along with the use of lots of plastics, along with the use of lots and lots of new material, chemicals, and we are also depleting the natural resources, and we are also inviting many epidemics. So in that case, we also have to find solutions. The solutions also need to come by the skilled people. We need many scientists. We need many social scientists to find out the reasons. So we may be requiring very highly skilled people also to deal with the technical issues of climate change and the pollution, environmental issues. And if you look at the way national education policy, this is the last slide for the national education policy. And let us reflect again now. See, skill development in school education is that specific skills and values across domains will be identified for integration of and incorporation of at each stage of learning from preschool to higher education. What does that mean actually? So far, I asked you to read the slide and I explained to you. Now, please explain this point. Can somebody explain this? Specific sets of skills and values across domains will be identified for integration and incorporation of at each stage of learning from preschool to higher education. What does that mean? I'm sure you must have studied about national education policies, schools, and so on. What does that mean actually? What does that mean for our college? Can somebody explain? A student or teacher, anybody, any participant? What does this first bullet means?
So if we think of a preschool curriculum, we need to develop the skills which are essential for their daily life,
Yes.
like personal hygiene,
Yes, very good.
traffic rules,
Yes.
who are the community helpers,
Yes.
about home, family, school, like that. We need
Yes.
to give some ideas and practical exposure for them in terms of field trips, like visit to post office, like.
Yeah, very good.
Similarly,
yeah, please go ahead.
in higher education also, starting from certain ideas, values, and skills, according to the developmental level of each category, like elementary school and high school and +2 level and higher education. In the higher education, we need to develop entrepreneurship skills or self-sustainable skills.
Yeah. So
to meet their life independence.
we will come to that issue. The idea that first bullet, you are correct, madam. Thank you very much. So the idea behind is that for any stage, we have to come out with the identification of skills and values across domains. For example, I would say that if you are starting a course in JMJ college, we have to identify what are the goals, values that we are identifying is essential for offering this course as part of the course. What are the essential set of skills? Recently, UGC has come out with the learning outcomes. I would say that we have to identify the sets of skills for various courses that are offered in our college. If you look at from higher education perspective. So whatever the course that we are having in our college, we have to come out, we have to identify what are the learning objectives, what are the skills children may learn from this course, what are the values they have to imbibe as part of the course. That needs to be identified. And the second bullet, the curriculum frameworks and transaction mechanisms will be developed for ensuring that these skills and values are imbibed through engaging process of teaching and learning. The NCERT, I am working in NCERT, so we are going to develop 4 curriculum frameworks in the next 1 year time. So this curriculum framework will tell us what is this broad framework of syllabus, what kind of methodologies, what are the educational aims, all the aims that, all the components of curriculum that I listed in the beginning of the slide, the presentation. So we have to evolve now. So that is second step actually. The third one is centralized organizations will identify these required skill sets that include mechanisms for their transaction. Okay, so these are the skill development expectations from the national education policy. Now you tell me which curricular model is applied or suggested in this three slides I told you. Is it
progressive and constructive model, sir?
No, you just reflect on this and then tell me whether it is a behaviorist and reconceptualist model, or is it a traditional model, or is it a constructivist model? Which model is applied in this framework?
Constructive model only, sir.
Again, I'm going back to the behaviorist model, traditional model, and progressive model. So which model is applied here? Anybody reflect? Anybody else? Students or anybody? Just can you reflect on which model is applied in this framework?
Sir, very good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning.
Without neglecting traditional behavioral and TABA model, progressive and constructed model is applicable for this era, sir.
Yeah, that is era. But I am asking that these ideas, three ideas, curriculum framework, centralized organization, these are all, is it part of the constructivist model, or is it part of the behaviorist model? Just think about it. Okay, so let me come back to the discussion now. Let me go to the next screen. Can somebody see the new screen? Hello.
National Skills Qualification Framework.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah. Can somebody read? Some students, please come out and you read now. What is there in the this particular slide?
The national initiative to make India skilled. Different ministries are roped in for promotion. Syllabus and courses have been developed to suit different age groups and skill acquisition nature. Formal education institutions and examining bodies have been collaborating to incorporate in their curriculum. Syllabus and textbooks are being developed by the NCERT and other leading curriculum development agencies or ministry-based organizations. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. So the idea that now the skill development has become a major issue in India. So many initiatives are taken in the last 10 years now. I'm just introducing only one dimension, a very important dimension. In 2013, the Government of India announced the National Skill Qualification Framework. So in this National Skill Qualification Framework, there were certain parameters called levels. Okay, and when you get time, just to go through in the Google. I am not going to show you all these the ideas of levels. There are 10 levels identified in under this National Skill Qualification Framework. Under 10 levels, some levels are meant for young children, some levels are meant for the adolescents, some levels are meant for the adults, the grown-up college-going boys and girls. So these levels were identified, and under each level, the nature of occupations, nature of skills that were also identified. And then syllabus also, learning outcomes are also listed. And now what is happening? Suddenly, like if you just Google or if you go to internet and search, you will find that there are textbooks available for the new skills, new courses, skill development courses. So under the National Skill Qualification Framework, many ministries are now roped in. They provide a small fund for the innovators. They come out with the training programs, training modules, training models, and syllabus and textbooks. So for each level, for example, you may be wondering, your college already is having Bachelor of Vocation. Is there anybody from Bachelor of Vocational Education in this webinar? You can say yes or no. Anybody studying or anybody is teaching like Bachelor of Vocation course in your college today participating here? Anybody? Anyone is there? Any teacher or a student who is studying Bachelor of Vocational in your college? Okay, so this particular course is part of the National Skill Qualification Framework. So this is the new mantra. In a way, this is the new strategy. The Government of India and many universities are also working together to promote vocational education in this country, particularly at the higher education level, now in the school education level also. Soon we are going to have a system where already it is there in the CBSE schools. On each school, in each student, when they are in class 9, they need to choose one particular vocational course. It's a compulsory is going to be there. So similarly in colleges also, every student is expected to choose one particular vocational course. So this means we may expect in maybe another 5-10 years time, your college will have many vocational courses and the various mechanisms for promoting vocational education in your college and your surrounding area. So the National Skill Qualification Framework is going to be the major driving force, and NCERT has already produced some 20-30 textbooks for classes 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th for the vocational courses. So students who are studying under the CBSE, they opt these papers and they also participate and they write, they go for field work, and they started already learning it actually. So this is going to be a major driving force, and many universities are going to participate. And the multidisciplinary framework, multidisciplinary means many disciplines will be there in a particular college or particular university. So what is happening, what has happened, some kind of illness took place in the last 30 years. For example, there is a teacher education university, there is a sports university, there is a medical college, there is a college which provide only MBA course. This kind of silos, separate subject-specific institutions were emerging. So the national education policy is expecting that any university or a autonomous college need to be multidisciplinary. I'm sure that in the coming decades, your college also come forward to introduce, because the number of courses that are introduced now is very few. Now it will become more and more multidisciplinary institutions. So if that is the case, actually, we also have to be ready for introducing many multidisciplinary courses. So what is happening in the multidisciplinary notice? So these are all very common. I noticed in some universities like Cambridge and Oxford or Minnesota, like Minneapolis, where the students are studying MBBS, medical courses are also, and the management courses also, and also economics and also language courses. So students studying a variety of courses, and when they study variety of courses, when they opt for example, a student of medicine is studying, say, about philosophy. He may be studying also about Japanese language. Okay, so when they study, they opt many courses. The new knowledge generation takes much better. So children are like, this is one of the reasons why people in other countries are able to develop patent rights, develop the new knowledge. That is because of the multidisciplinarity. So multidisciplinary institutions, particularly colleges, universities, are going to be the future of India. So we have to see how in those multidisciplinary institutions, the vocational education courses are going to be introduced. That's going to be there. Actually. What are the, if you look at what are the skill development models available? Before I forget, actually, I also wanted every one of you, if you get a chance, you also go through the one, there is one institution, about some 80 years old institution called Dayalbag Education Institute in Agra. When you get a chance, go through their institution. What are the activities that they do? Provide various skill development models. So you can go through that institution's history and what kind of courses they are having, how they integrate skill development in various courses and various programs also. So broadly, I'm just giving you some 5 models of skill development. What are those skill development models? Can somebody read here? It's very. What are the 5 models of skill development I'm giving in the slide?
Embedded models,
yeah.
Appended models, blended models, apprentice models, student-centric models.
Thank you, madam. So the idea that these 5 models, the embedded model means the vocational component, the skill development component is inbuilt in the course. For example, if somebody is studying economics, you will also go to bank, you will also go to farms, you will also, or she will also go and learn many things, what is happening in the daily life experiences. So the skill development takes place in the course itself. Whereas appended model means if somebody is studying, say for example, I studied BSc physics and then I go for a 6-month diploma course or 3-month certificate course. Okay, so this kind of completing the formal degree and then going for a 6-month short-term courses. That is called appended model. The blended model means, for example, I think your college must be having this model. I really don't know. The blended model means some universities are having 2 programs. For example, if you study BSc chemistry or BCom, you can also study Bachelor of Vocational Education. So after 4 years of your course, you will be given 2 degrees, a degree in commerce and also degree in vocational education. So this kind of blending the certificate programs and also the formal degrees, that is called blended model. Okay, you get 2 degrees or 1 degree, 1 certificate together from the same college or same education institution. The apprenticeship model is generally, you must be knowing about ITIs, industrial training institutions. So what they do, they are many higher education professional courses are also having this apprenticeship. It's called internship. So what they do, they participate in the course, and on the last 6 months or after the course is over, they are attached to a particular company for industry or factory for 6 months or 1 year. They learn and then they are absorbed in the job, or sometimes they go to some other company as a formal employee. So this is called apprenticeship model of skill development. And then the student-centric model is more like it is inclusive of both blended model and also embedded model. The student-centric model is that when the student may be coming to our institution and he may be or she may be doing both certain things within the institution and certain things outside the institution. So she will have some vocational courses, or she may be getting experience from the outside the institution. Okay, so these are the 5 skill development models available for any higher education institution to think about promoting skill development among the students. What are the challenges available? Like, since these are broad issues and these are my personal understanding about it, I may be wrong also. So there are certain challenges available here. For example, the political developments and the environment. Okay, that's the major issue one has to think about when we want to promote skill development. So what are the political developments? The political development may prioritize certain models of education, and they may not promote certain other models of education. Okay, that is one way to see it actually. The environmental issues are also the causes major issue in developing skills actually. And what are the social and cultural? This is major component, at least in my view, that in India, many occupations are being stigmatized. It is also one of the reasons why children or parents are hesitant to introduce vocational education courses or to their children. The stigma attached to housekeeping activities, stigma attached to the many service occupations, okay, because certain caste groups are engaged in certain occupations. Okay, so National Skill Qualification Framework wanted to break away from those ideas and providing a professional outlook to those new skills, actually, new courses. That is where it is trying to go away from the caste-based occupations, and at the same time inbuilt, imbibe some of the better dimensions of the skill acquisition. Okay, and so the stigma attached to the occupations are also major stumbling block for skill development. Everybody wants that my child should not soak their hands in the water or in the mud. Okay, that kind of feeling is also there actually. So this has to be overcome. How is going to be overcome? Who will overcome? I have no idea. But this is the major issue, stumbling block for towards skill development. And the many times what happen actually, the economic issues. For example, in India, many enterprises are self-employed activities. In fact, in India, it is not hired workers who are major number. It is the self-employed people, small farmers and small grocery shop owners, all the service sector occupations. Many occupations in India are self-employed by nature. They employ a lot of unpaid family laborers. So many enterprises are family run. Okay, these family run enterprises are also keeping many things very, very fragile, very secretive. They are not allowing professionalism to emerge. If you look at top companies, top corporates also today in India, you will find these family enterprises are very, they are the ones, a dominant player actually. Like stock market based or corporate entities are very less. These are all family based enterprises, whether it is a Reliance or many such companies in India, they are all family run. So the family members run, so the professionalism is lacking. So that is also a major, it's not only family, the big corporate sector, even for weaving activity. So when you look at the weavers in India, the weaving skills are very, very kept secret actually. So it's not easily, nobody can, for example, I conducted a research in Tamil Nadu, in one near Kanchipuram. So I noticed that anybody can become weaver except Dalits. Because the weaving requires apprenticeship over 2-3 years sitting in the loom inside the house. So the weaving activities, when it is professionally, if anybody wants to learn, means you have to go sit with the weaver, work as apprentice for 2 years or 3 years, and so that you learn the art of weaving actually. So I noticed in my survey, maybe 15-20 years before I conducted this survey, so I noticed that the many family enterprises, they are not imparting skills to outside their family and outside their kins actually. So that is also a major stumbling block for promoting skill development. So the family, and same way with religious activity. So the religion is also, for example, people belonging to certain occupations, belonging to certain religious categories, they don't allow people of other groups to acquire the skills of those occupations actually. So the family religious practices in India, they are major stumbling block, at least in my view, say that. And what are the way forward? So I'm not saying that there is no other way forward, at least in my view. So it's also possible that through formal education institutions like the JMJ College, it is also possible by the schools to develop skills in some ways. There are some solutions. It is not that there is no solution available. So if you ask me personally, what are the ways to go further? How to go further? One is that the institutions need to learn from other institutions. For example, I would strongly suggest that JMJ College can travel to like Dayalbag Education Institution in Agra to see what's happening there with regard to vocational education, skill development of, because the Albach Education Institution also has 80% of the students are girls. I'm sure your college also, it's being a girls' college. So college administration can visit and see how the vocational education is promoted in that college, how the skill development takes place among the students, because they follow all these 5-6 models that I am presenting here. So learning from other institutions and sending students as a part of exchange program to learn from the way things are operating there. That is one way to develop skill development ideas for our institution. And secondly, that right now what happened, actually students belonging to certain age groups are only allowed to participate in the courses. Is it possible that some dropout students also can come back? The mixed age group students can also be enrolled for these skill development courses. So right now the specific age groups are allowed. So mixed age group also, people from 40s and 50s who wants to acquire skills. For example, many it happens to particularly women that they join college, they complete some 2-3 years and then get married and having children, and they lose their interest in the curricular skill development areas. And but when the children goes after some time outside the house, they feel very sad actually. So they can come back. They are also many. So if they come back in 30s or 40s and wants to learn skills required, see, the skill development courses should not be a stumbling block. No, only those who are aged 30 are eligible. So this kind of age bar also is a major stumbling block. So if women of any age group can come and learn in the college, if they are allowed to acquire skills in the vocational courses, that could be that could expand the skill development area. And then the dropouts. So why we have to have a dropout system? The new education policy is suggesting that rather going for a degree pass or degree fail model, rather going for if somebody completed all the first year courses, they can be given a certificate course. If they're able to complete a second year course of the 3-year course, they can be given a diploma course. Or if they are completing 3 years, all the papers, they can be degree courses. So right now what happened, in fact, yesterday somebody was asking me that if somebody study in a school, if somebody study up to class 8 and it become dropout, he does not have or she does not have any certificate that she has completed 8th class. She has passed all the papers in class 8th. It's same case with the second year also. Many students are studying in second year up to college. They clear all the papers, but they don't have any certificate that they have got these courses. So one can also think about the alternative models that are suggested in the national education policy, that rather not having any certificate, they can come back after 5 year, 10 year, or they can join some other college or some other place. Then they pursue their higher education. This way, skill development can be expanded further actually. So they're rather going them as dropout. Then different entry points. Different entry points means that students can, right now what is happening, all of us are getting admission in the particular month, April, May, June, or May, June, July. So rather going for a June, July yearly once admissions, we can also have admissions 3 times in a year, 4 times in a year, and 3 times in a year at least. Or so some universities are offering this kind of program, July and December also. So similarly, our college also can think about offering programs and at different points of time, because young people are having their own issues. They may not be able to join in July. So they may be having an opportunity to join after 3 months' time, so that they can come, they join, and then they pursue. And whatever was left in the first 3 months, they can complete in the last 3 months. So this kind of flexible entry points for courses that we are producing in the college, that will also encourage more and more skill development courses. And then finally, right now, the courses that are being even including the National Skill Development Framework courses, they're all very fixed standard job-driven courses. From there, we need to go for more and more flexible student-centric courses. So we can discuss more on this. And in my view, if we are able to make our courses flexible in the following ways that I suggested, I think we may be able to overcome the curriculum to promote skill development innovations in our college and in India. So with this, I'm completing my presentation, and participants kindly reflect, and I want your feedback and queries if there are.
Dear participants, if you have any queries, please post in the chat box or directly ask.
Yes. Any any
There is
comments?
no questions. There is no questions, sir. Okay, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your outstanding presentation and sharing your knowledge with us. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
May I invite Mrs. Nagajyoti, lecturer in economics, take over the session to propose vote of thanks.
Received Dr. R. Nagajyoti, lecturer in commerce, JMJ College, Permanent Autonomous Pedagogies. It is a
It
great
is a great
privilege for
privilege
me
for me
to
to
propose vote of
propose vote
thanks
of thanks
in this
in
third
this
day
third
session
day
of
session of
5-day
5-day
international
international
webinar
webinar
and
and
faculty
faculty
development
development
program.
program.
Both the
Both the
National
National
Educational
Educational
Policy
Policy
2020
2020
and the
and the
National
National
Skill
Skill
Qualification
Qualification
Framework
Framework
2013
2013
have laid
have
great
laid
emphasis
great
on
emphasis on
creating 21st
creating
century
21st
skills
century
among students,
students,
including
including
critical
critical
thinking,
thinking,
problem
problem
solving,
solving,
creativity,
creative,
and digital literacy and holistic
and
development of the
holistic
student,
development
etc.
of the student, etc.
We are currently in a
We
unique
are currently
position
in a unique position
where industry and
where
organizations
industry and
are require
organizations are required
skilled manpower,
skilled manpower,
and the existing workforce
and the
demands
existing workforce demand
the new set of skills,
the new set of skills,
quality and relevance as
quality and relevance as
expected from industry.
expected from industry.
Imparting skills to meet the demands of the post pandemic ways of working will also be crucial for any organization. In this juncture, we are very grateful to Professor M.V. Srinivasan, Professor in Economics, Department of Education in Social Sciences, NCERT New Delhi, for his valuable presentation on challenging in designing curriculum to promote skill development and innovation in the light of new education policy 2020. Professor expressed the challenges that are taken into consideration are economic, social, cultural, political and environmental issues. Sir, you are emphasized the meaning of curriculum, contents of curriculum, organization of content, guidelines of content, methods of teaching, difference between the traditional curriculum and curriculum framework in new educational policy 2020 and various models of curriculum, that is traditional, behavioral, TABA model and progressive and constructional model, etc. Limitations of traditional models, revision of curriculum according to the Bloom's taxonomy, etc. You are stressed the role of teachers in the new environment. Teacher become a resource rather than the authority with new skills to meet these challenges. Thank you, sir. Your interaction in this session is highly appreciable, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Thank you for spending your valuable time with us. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Sumalata and Dr. Purnima and Mr. Murali for their cooperation. Thank you one and all for your patient listening. Thank you.
Let us close the session. Thanks.
అప్పుడప్పుడు ప్రిపేర్ అయిపోతే బాగా ఆలోచన